repeat. Good morning, everybody. In this video, I'm going to explain to you how we use arrays in Visual Studio or C# in particular. Okay, so we're creating a new project. This project is called Array Practice, and we hit OK. I already have a project like that, so I'm going to call it Array Practice instead of Arrays Practice. Okay. All right, and we have a form. In this form, we're going to have only a couple things right now. One thing we're going to have is a button, and one thing is a list box. Okay. The button, we will call it list exams, or we change the list exams. All right. And what is the purpose of this? What we're going to do, we're going to have, let's say our program keep track of students' exam. So all it has a list of exams, and we want to calculate the average and maybe the sum of all the grades. Okay, so how do we do this? First, let's change this one to say list box result, LST result, and let's go into the program, the button. Now, usually this is not how you do it. Usually you have input field where you enter the exam scores, and when you click on them, then it's add them to the list, and it does some calculation. But because we're explaining arrays for the first time, we're going to start with the easy way to define arrays. So what we do is that we double click here, and suppose that we have 5 exams that we're keeping track of. In the past, we used to say int, for example, exam. We're going to start with 0, and then exam 1, then exam 2. Now, of course, it could be double. Exam 3, exam 4, because there are 5, so this is how we do it. Now, you can start with 1, but I want to start with 0 to show you the difference. So this is how we usually do it in the past. And then we can say exam 1 equal exam 0 equal, let's say, 80. Okay, and then we say exam 2 equal 90. All right, this is a good student, and so forth. So this is okay if you have only 5 exams. But what if you have 10 exams? So you'll have to define 10 variables. What if you have students instead of exam? If you have 10 students and you want to keep track of their student names, how would you do it? You will have to do something similar, define 10 students. But programming languages provide an easier way to do that. Instead of defining variables like this, and especially if you don't know how many variables do you need, we use something called arrays. What is an array? An array is a collection of variables, you can call it. Sometimes it's called items, sometimes it's called objects, sometimes memory location, whatever you want to call it, okay? Any of those names. The point behind it is what? It is just you're defining a list, a collection of things. So if we want to use these arrays to define the same thing that we've done here, all right, how would we do that? One way, the easiest way to do it, if you know the result, if you know the elements, instead of int like that, we usually define int. Now I say it is an array, a collection. And this notation that you see here indicate that this is multiple elements, not only one variable, there's multiple variables. And then you can say equal. Since you know, before you do that, we have to give it a name. So instead of exam, 0, 1, and all of that, I'm going to call it exams. Okay? And now you can say equal and assign value to these exams. So what is happening here? I can say, for example, I'm going to say exam 1 was 80, let's say. and then exam 2 90, exam 3 70, then went partying, and then exam 4 was 50, and then realized that he did bad, so he did better on the final, right? So what have we done here? Now, all of this now is defined in this line. How is it defined in this line? I have a collection. This collection is called exams. The first element in that collection is 80. The second element is 90. The third element is 70. The fourth element is 50. And the fifth element is 90. So how do we access those things? Here it was easy. Exam 0, exam 1, exam 2, and so forth. Here we use something called index. So to access the element, we use the index of that element. What is the index? The index is basically a number. It's an integer number. Starts from 0 to the length of that array minus 1. What does that mean? Yani, here how many elements I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 elements. But the first element number is actually starts with 0. So this will have an index of 0. This will have an index of 1. This has an index of 2, 3, and then 4. So I start from 0 to 4. Is that clear? All right. How would we access those elements? If I want to add them up, one way to do it, the traditional way of doing it, you can say, or the easiest, the simplistic way of doing it, you can say, let's say we define the total. We want to add them all up. Let's say total equal. We can say, for example, exams 0 plus exams 1 plus exams 3, or exam 2, sorry, and plus exams how many we have? We have 3. Now which one is the last one? The last one is 4. Exams 4. Okay. All right. Again, this is not the right way. We'll modify this for later. So what are we doing here? The reason I'm showing you this so you can relate to it here. What are we doing here? It's saying, give me the first element in the list. What is that first element? 80. Give me the second element in the list. What is that element? 90. Third element, fourth element, and fifth element. You got the idea? And then we add them all up. Now the average, if we want to just do an average, int average equal, usually it is the total divided by the number of elements. How many elements do we have? 5. And then we can put them on the list. All right. Do we need this anymore? We don't need them. I just put them there to show you. So I'm going to delete those. Okay? No need for this. Again, this is a very simplistic way, but we will modify this example in a minute. All right. Now let's go back to the form. Let's add a few things. We'll add a label. And this label, just say the average here. Okay? And just put the text, the average is. And then here, put LVL average. Okay. What are we going to do with this? When I click on, let's add another button. But let's change this. All right, that's fine. For now, we will do that. We'll leave it that this. But here, I want to put the average here, and later on, we'll list the elements. So go back onto the button. What do we do after we calculate the average? We say LBL average dot text equal the average of the average is, and then plus average, okay, like that. Now if we test it, you click on list exams, the average is 76. You can see that. Let me change this font of all of these to make them bigger so you can, looks better on the video. Font, let's make it 10. Okay, maybe 12. All right, you got the idea? All right, now let's calculate the average. Now what about putting the list, putting this into the array? How do we put the elements into the array, into the list box? If we double click on this, you can do it the same way we've done that. How do we do it? I will say, and we called it LST result, right? LST result dot items dot add, and then we will add the value. Okay, element exam 1 equal, and then we will say plus exam 0 exams, and then we will put 0 for the first one, right? And then we repeat this how many times? 5 times, right? And every time what happens? We need to change what? The exam number here. What do I have to put here? 1, 2, and then what? 3, 4. Okay, we have one more, all right? But what else do we have to change? 2, 3. But this is not the right way. I'm showing you the hard way because I want you to reach a conclusion here when we do this. Okay. So what happens now? If you run it, it would list them. They're here. Yeah. Exam 1, exam 2, exam 3, and here's your average. But is this? We can do list, keep listing. It would list them. But is this a good way?
No.
Why? Huh? What if we have more than 5? What if we have 10? What if we have 10 students? Is this a good way? It's not a good way. Why? Because, and notice notice, is there an order to this? What's the order? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. How about here? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Correct? Yes or not? Yes. Can we do something about it? Can we use something that we've learned before to do that instead of, we can use loops, right? Because this is very obvious. You start from 0 until to the end of your list, but every time you're adding what? We're adding 1. So automatically we can use either while loop or you can use for loop. Okay, I'm going to use while loop because we haven't done much exercises with the while loop. We will do with the while loop. Okay, so it'll serve as an example. But I'll do it both ways. So it'll be while loop and for loop. So notice, all I have to do, I'm going to comment all this out, these things. I'm going to comment them out. Keep them there so you can learn from them. But I want to do something different. All right. We know that we need n total. So I'm going to define total again. It says defined, but I commented out. All right. The only thing that I need now is just that array. Okay. The only thing that I need is just that array. So I commented everything else except the array. Okay? So I need two things. I need total, and I can define it above. So you can it'll be all defined at the beginning. So I need total, and total. And what else do I need? Average, right? Okay. All right. And I'm going to make total equal to 0. Type. How do we use arrays to access the elements? The easiest way to do it, you can say int for int. We use I usually. I equal 0. What does that mean? I'm starting a for loop, and I start with the element 0. Why do I start with element 0? Because the first element in your array is 0. All right? So that's why I'm starting with 0. Okay, what's the last element in my array? 4. So I have to say less than I, less than 4. Less than or equal to 4, right? Or less than 5, which is the same. Less than. There's a reason I'm doing that. All right. Fine. Here, it's 5, but we don't know how many. Sometimes the array can have more than 5. It can have 6, 7. So is there a better way to know the length of your array, how many elements in your array? There is. Instead of using 5, 4, whatever, there is something. We can say exams.
That's one?
No, we can say there's something called length. Length. When we say this, what does that tell you? It tells you how many elements in your array. So now, it doesn't matter. If you have 5, it will be 5. If you have 10, it will be 10. So I'm saying from 0, less than to the elements, the length of the array. Here in this case, what is the length of the array? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. But you start counting from 0. So you have 5. So it's going from 0 till less than 5, which is 4. You got the idea? And next time, every time, what do? I say I plus plus. You got the idea? Now, how can I list it in the list box? All I have to do, take one of those guys, control copy, and then control V. But instead of exam1, what are we going to do here?
Let's go.
Exams. What do we put here? What do we put in the bracket?
Nothing.
What changes in the array, in the loop? I is the one that is changing, right? So what do we put here? We put I. Taban, of course, here you cannot say exam1 anymore. What do we have to do?
Exams.
We can do exams. Exam 1. Instead of that, you can say just exam value, right? Or if you want to make it realistic, this is how we do it. You say plus I plus. Here we'll do it this way. Remember, this was in your quiz. You can say it like this: exam plus I, and I'm going to plot plus 1 because I start from 0. So I'm going to say exam 1. Okay. Plus bracket equal here. Okay. I know this might be a little bit confusing, but let me explain it. I want to say exam and the number. I starts with 0. So 0 plus 1 becomes 1. 0 plus 2, 1 plus 1 becomes 2. So this will be attached to the exam. You got the idea? Exam 1, exam 2. Plus equal, this equals what? This equal would be listed exam exactly equal. And then this is the value that comes from the array. So let's see what happens now if it works. Now all I have to do, if I say list, it worked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right?
But the average, it doesn't work,
Huh?
The average, it doesn't work.
We haven't done the average yet. We haven't done the average. Okay, let's try something. What if I added another exam? 2 exams. 70 and 80. What do you think is going to happen? Do I need to change anything else?
No.
Do I need to change this array?
No, sir.
Why? Because of what?
The length.
Because I said the length. I don't need to say 5, 6, 7. It's because of the length. Now if I run it, watch what's going to happen. List, it worked. Yeah? All right, I'll pause it and give you a minute to make sure that you got this to work, okay? All right, so we're done with the listing part. How about the average? How do we calculate the average value? Remember, how did we do the average? The average was you add them all up, and then you take the total, and then you divide it by the length of how many elements you have, right? So how do we do that in here? Can we add them all up inside the array? Same idea. Instead of saying, we can say total total equal to the old value plus whatever is the new element we're looking at. So now if we're looking at element 1, it will be whatever the value in total plus element 1 plus element 2 plus element 3 plus element 4 until the end of the loop. All right? This is important that you start the total with 0. Right? That's why you add to it. So the first time it was 0 plus the first element value. So we say here, exams, what do you think? Just put I, similar to what we've done before here. Okay, you got that? So it will be, the first time it will be element 1, second time it will be element 2, third time it will be element 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so, until the length of the array. All right? Is that clear? Then, when do we calculate the average? Do we calculate it inside the loop or outside the loop? Outside. Why outside? Because when I get out of the loop, I have the total. I want to calculate the total first, then I calculate the average. You got the idea? So when I'm outside the loop, now I've calculated the total. All I need to do now, I can say average equal to what? Total. Now do I say here, what do I say for the count? How do I get the count of the array? How do I know how many elements in my array? What do I use? Do I put 6? Do I put 7? Or what do I put? Exams dot length. So we say exams dot length. And at the end, we just put the average like we did here. Control copy. I'll just put it here. Instead of average, so we'll say average. So this is the whole program. Instead of writing exam 1, exam 2, exam 3, exam 4, exam 5, all I need to do is I define the array, put the elements in the array, then I can use loops to go through the array to get the values and do whatever I want with them. Is that clear? All right. If you test it, it should work. This is the average, 75. Okay, so this concludes the first video about arrays. The next example we're going to define array of strings instead of numbers, and how we can do some sorting of the array. All right. Same thing, we'll use the same example, but we will do another button. Okay, so I'll stop this video and we'll start another one. Okay.